Vampirism in the world of Vampire Syndicate is an ancient curse, and although its exact nature differs from lineage to lineage, all surviving vampires share common ancestors. Roughly 3,000 years before the modern day, in what is now Eastern Thule, there existed the minor kingdom of Ducia. According to vampire legends, Ducia was a beacon of civilization, knowledge and progress, something which is corroborated by historical findings, as the Great Library at Angelus is famed in the ancient world. Ducia was ruled by a cabal of sorcerers that the modern lineages called the Druca, although they likely called themselves something quite different. They claimed that their teacher and patron was none other than an axiom, otherwise known as first principles, powerful servants of the Creator in testamentary faiths. The Red Judge, a keeper of souls and mortality, has chosen them to guide the fledgling tribes of man. Under his tutelage, the driving goal of the Druca was to achieve immortality. They were successful. Through sorcerous rituals, they were able to imbue themselves with what they called a reflection of the divine. The first vampires were without the flaws that beset their modern kin. They needed no blood for sustenance, nor did they shy away from sunlight. Yet they became stronger, faster, more vital in every way than man. And of course, the greatest prize of all, life eternal. They were sent out into the world as sages, to share what they have learned with those they deemed worthy. But immortality twists the minds and souls of men. While some few followed the mission and holy oaths given to them by the Red Judge, others embraced excess and wickedness. They fought among themselves in great and costly battles, until the last of their terrible kind was slain. Vampires believe, and even insist, that none of the Druca survived the fall of Ducia. The modern lineages are not directly descended from the Druca. Instead, they formed in different places at different times, and were the result of those who wished to discover the secret of the Druca's immortality. All of these lineages were ultimately successful, in their own way. The original rituals were completely lost, and there was no known method to summon the Red Judge if he would even answer. Therefore, each lineage fashioned their own, flawed version of the ritual. The resulting vampires were different. They were burdened with strange weaknesses, including unceasing hunger for human blood, and a serious aversion to not just sunlight, but also being active during daytime. Independently, the lineages came to the conclusion that the Red Judge cursed the metaphysics behind the ritual, perhaps in an attempt to discourage it. However, the benefits were still too great to ignore. Immortality and vitality in one handsome package. Many considered the downsides to be well worth the price. And despite the sometimes horrific nature of their curse, many vampires say, outwardly at least, that they are following the original charge of the Red Judge to shepherd the wayward masses of humanity. But even the lineages who are loath to admit weakness openly recognise their hypocrisy in this. The official stance of the Phoenix Church is that vampires do not exist. However, their secret archives tell a different story, and none is as detailed on vampires as those of the Slayer Order. The Slayers acknowledge many parts of the common vampire legend, but differ significantly when it comes to the Druca. They say the ancient sorcerers stole the secret of immortality from the Red Judge, a feat that they only achieved with the darkest and most profane rituals, forever blighting their own souls. The Druca spread vampirism throughout Ducia, creating a class of immortals in the first and only vampire nation. With even a small number of immortals, Ducia was able to wage a war of conquest against the coastal tribes that were their neighbours. At the height of their empire, the Druca turned against each other for unknown reasons, and some sort of calamity destroyed Ducia. Contrary to vampire legends, though, the Slayer Order holds that some of the Urdruka survived the calamity and were the ones who helped modern lineages rediscover the original rituals. The Slayers also believe that the vampiric curse carries a final and ultimate condition that the lineages refuse to discuss. The Slayers believe that when vampires die a second, true death, their soul is subject to eternal torment. In their view, a just punishment for one death is not nearly enough.